Hi everyone, this is the Nordic Venture Show, your guide to the exciting world of Nordic startups and venture capital. In today's episode, we're exploring a startup called Taito.ai.
Okay, so have you ever felt that when you're trying to find a way to really improve your team's performance?
Yeah.
But it's like you just get bombarded by all this advice and articles.
Oh, yeah.
It's like everyone's got the secret formula, but no one agrees on what it is.
Right.
Today we're going to look at something really cool that's happening in this area.
We're taking a deep dive into a company that's completely changing how they think about employee performance.
This isn't about those boring once-a-year reviews that no one really cares about.
No, not at all.
We're talking about continuous growth and development.
Yeah, in real time.
And the company we're focusing on is Faculty.
You might know them as Faculty.ai.
They've been using this new platform called Taito.ai.
We've got info straight from Taito's website.
And a case study about how Faculty is using it.
Our mission today is to break down how Taito.ai is shaking things up.
And what benefits Faculty is actually seen.
So no more getting bogged down in tons of information.
Let's jump right into it.
It sounds good.
So Taito.ai talks about a shift from performance management to performance enablement.
Right.
What's the difference?
Well, traditional performance management is often about looking back.
Like what you did or didn't do.
Yeah,
So
basically.
you're saying performance enablement is more forward-looking.
Exactly. It's about creating the right conditions and giving people tools to constantly get better.
To improve their skills.
Exactly, and that benefits the whole organization.
So it's a more holistic view.
Yeah, it's about creating a culture of continuous growth for everyone.
And their platform actually reflects that.
Totally. They've built features to support that philosophy.
Like the automated feedback, the streamlined one-on-one meetings.
And support for personal growth plans.
They're making this a part of how people work every day.
Not just some annual thing you check off a list.
It's interesting that even the name Taito means skill in Finnish.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, shows how much they emphasize skill development.
That's a great point.
And the creators of Taito.ai, they come from the startup world,
Oh, yeah, they were at smartly.io.
a company that grew really fast.
So they know firsthand how traditional performance management can hold you back.
Especially when things are moving quickly.
Exactly.
So let's break down some of Taito.ai's key features.
All right, let's do it.
You mentioned continuous personal feedback.
Right.
How does that work?
So it's all about integration and automation.
Okay.
They weave feedback into tools that teams already use, like Slack.
So it's right there where people are working.
Exactly. And you don't have to wait for some formal review, period.
You can give feedback when it's actually relevant.
Exactly like when a new team member joins or after a big project milestone.
So it's more in the flow of work.
Right. It's more natural that way.
They also talk about AI-driven analysis.
Yes.
What's the AI doing with all this feedback?
Think of the AI as a performance analyst that's always working.
So it's always crunching the numbers?
Not exactly numbers, but it's looking at the feedback, identifying trends.
Okay, so it's looking for patterns.
Right, and it flags areas where someone might need development.
And it can even suggest what to do about it.
Exactly, and all these insights are available in real time.
So both the employee and their manager can see them.
Right.
That's really helpful.
It makes the feedback much more useful.
And it's not just sitting in a file somewhere.
Right, it's actually driving action.
And by using Slack, it's so much easier to give and receive feedback.
People are already in there all day.
It just becomes part of how they communicate.
Exactly. And the less friction there is, the more likely people are to actually do it.
Makes sense.
Yeah, this constant flow of feedback helps identify issues early on.
And celebrate wins when they happen.
That's a good point.
Another key thing is employee-driven personal development.
Yes, this is where it gets really interesting.
How does Taito.ai help people take charge of their own growth?
So it lets employees set their own professional goals.
But they're not just random goals.
No, they're aligned with their own aspirations and the company's objectives.
And then it's not just like set it and forget it.
Right, the platform helps them track their progress over time.
And there's AI assistance for both setting the goals and tracking progress.
Exactly.
So the AI might recommend goals based on someone's feedback or career path.
That's the idea.
Wow, that's cool.
And there's also a development discussion, copilot for leaders.
What's that?
It gives managers AI support to guide those development conversations.
So the AI can help the manager coach their employees.
Exactly.
And they also have these embedded nudges for personal development plans.
Yeah, those are like reminders and prompts to keep people on track.
It's like having a built-in career coach.
I like that analogy.
And then there's the one-on-one meeting copilot.
Right. One-on-ones can easily become just status updates.
Yeah, or they get sidetracked.
But Taito.ai helps structure them and make sure they're productive.
How so?
It helps with creating agendas, documenting decisions,
Keeping track of action items.
and most importantly, it keeps the focus on development.
So less time figuring out what to talk about.
Right, and more time for actual coaching.
They even have coaching resources within Slack.
That's super convenient.
And the AI can provide insights during these meetings.
Yeah, which helps both the manager and the employee make better decisions.
Okay, so that's a good overview of Taito.ai.
Now let's see how it actually works in a real company.
Faculty is an AI company based in London.
Yep, they were founded in 2014.
And they've grown to about 400 employees.
They work in some really important sectors.
Like government, energy, life sciences, consumer goods, and defense.
They help those organizations use AI safely and effectively.
They're really at the forefront of the AI industry.
They definitely know what they're doing.
And they started using Taito.ai in autumn 2024
Right, we did a pilot program.
with more than 70 people from different teams.
What was the problem they were trying to solve?
They felt that their traditional performance reviews just weren't cutting it.
They were trying to make small improvements, but it wasn't enough.
They wanted something more continuous,
Integrated into their workflow.
not just a yearly event.
Exactly. They needed a total transformation.
Rebecca Welch, their head of people operations, had a strong vision
She wanted a system that encouraged a culture of continuous feedback.
where feedback was given regularly and used to help people grow.
And she felt that Taito.ai aligned perfectly with that vision.
It allowed for more timely development discussions.
And it gave managers clear insights.
So what were some of the specific benefits that faculty saw?
Well, one was the seamless feedback collection.
How did that work?
Taito.ai integrated right into their communication platform.
So people could give feedback in real time
Exactly. And the platform used personalized prompts.
to remind people to give feedback.
Yeah, so it wasn't just relying on people to remember.
And the AI also generated insights for personal growth,
Right. It created a profile for each employee.
highlighting their strengths and areas for growth.
Exactly. And employees could see their own profiles.
So it wasn't just the manager holding all the information.
Exactly. Everyone was on the same page.
And it seems like it shifted people's perception of performance management.
Yeah, it became a tool for growth, not just a scary evaluation.
I like that.
And they also had personalized development check-ins.
How did Taito.ai support those?
It provided tools to structure those conversations.
Like personalized agendas for one-on-one meetings.
Right. And it even suggested potential goals based on the feedback.
So it made those meetings much more focused,
Exactly.
and it helped reduce recency bias,
That's a big problem with traditional reviews.
where you only remember what happened recently.
But with Taito.ai, feedback is collected all year round.
So it's a more balanced view of someone's performance.
Makes sense.
We've heard from Rebecca Welch, but what about other people at faculty?
Vicki Marchington, the chief people officer, also had some interesting things to say.
Well, yeah, like what?
She highlighted the value of real-time feedback.
And how Taito.ai's integration made it easy to capture and review feedback?
Exactly. It just became part of their workflow.
And what about the team leaders, the people actually managing teams?
One team lead said that Taito.ai saved them a ton of time.
Preparing for team check-ins.
Yeah, and the meetings themselves were more efficient.
That's a big win.
It frees up their time to focus on other things.
And what about the individual contributors?
The feedback from them was overwhelmingly positive.
That's great to hear.
One person said it completely changed how they viewed feedback.
It became less formal and more natural.
Yeah, and they liked being able to give and receive feedback in real time.
And they found the feedback summaries really helpful for performance reviews.
Another person talked about how hard it is to get feedback from people you only work with briefly.
Like on a short-term project.
Exactly. But Taito.ai made it easy to request and receive that feedback.
That's a really common problem.
And they solved it.
So it sounds like Taito.ai is benefiting everyone, not just managers and HR.
Absolutely. It's improving the employee experience, too.
Beyond the specific features, what are some of the core principles behind Taito.ai's approach?
Well, they emphasize that it's all research-backed.
They're not just making things up.
Right, and they're focused on enabling performance, not just evaluating it.
So it's a proactive approach.
Exactly, and they call themselves AI native with a human focus.
What does that mean?
It means the AI handles the repetitive tasks.
Like gathering and summarizing feedback.
which frees up humans to have more meaningful conversations.
About coaching and development.
Right, and they're also very serious about data privacy and security.
That's so important.
They have ISO 27001 certification.
And they make sure data isn't used to train their AI. And they have customizable access controls.
It shows that they take data protection very seriously.
They also integrate with all the popular work tools.
Like Slack, Jira, and Linear.
So companies don't have to switch everything over.
It's designed to fit right in.
Okay, so we've covered a lot about Taito.ai and faculty.
Yeah, it's been a deep dive.
What are the key takeaways for our listeners?
Well, the main takeaway is that Taito.ai represents a big shift.
Toward a more continuous and AI-powered way of managing performance?
And faculty is a great example of how it can work in practice.
They saw real benefits, like more timely feedback.
Greater employee ownership of development.
And less administrative burden.
It's not just theory, it's actually working.
And it makes you think about your own approach, even if you're not using a platform like Taito.ai.
So here's a question for you, the listener.
What can you do in your own context?
To encourage more continuous feedback and development.
Even without a fancy new platform.
What small steps can you take today?
To start having those conversations.
With your team or even just for yourself.
That's something to think about.
If you want to learn more about Taito.ai, their website is a good place to start.
It's important to stay on top of these new approaches.
The world of work is changing fast.
And continuous growth is becoming more and more important.
It's not about static evaluations anymore.
It's about creating a dynamic culture of development.
Exactly.
And that's something we can all strive for.
I agree.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time.
See you then.
Thanks for listening to the Nordic Venture Show. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for more stories of innovation from the Nordics.